And I'm Lindsey Burrell. Thanks for joining us. Police say a staff member found a loaded 9mm handgun in the student's backpack. Man, have we gone through a roller coaster here in Iowa's 1st Congressional District. In just about an hour, the Des Moines City Council will hold a vote on an ordinance aimed to ban public camping. Officially 1 week away from the Iowa caucus. We also have a debate coming up on the 10th. That's just Wednesday here at Drake University. So we haven't heard of a ton of cancellations yet, but if people aren't in the state for caucus, it's going to possibly be difficult to get here. Currently playing right now and just wrapping up is Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. And I think that's kind of the vibe here in the room. History has been made here at the Iowa Speedway as Ryan Blaney has won the inaugural Iowa Corn 350. Well, officers shot during a struggle with a suspect yesterday are making strides in their recovery. For the first time in Iowa's history, NASCAR is racing into town for the Iowa Corn 350.
How many calories is this?
I don't think we need to know. It's the Iowa State Fair.
But
you don't want to know.
Absolute
school threat that was made on social media that ensued a very large police presence here. As you can see behind me, the river is just moving so quickly. New information this afternoon in the death of a 17-year-old Calhoun County girl. They say both officers were shot in the line of duty trying to make an arrest. And this is the perfect week if you're interested, maybe seeing this going, I've never really tried my hand at the paddle.
Oh,
he hit it!
I think he hit the uprights.
I think so too. That's some good aim. That was the best part of this show. Pumpkin cannon. What's more Iowan? Oh, I thought you were going to say snow. I started getting nervous. It is hot outside. I've got my toes in the water. No sand out here, but as you can see, there are a ton of people out here enjoying Adventure Bay. 2 gunshot wound victims at Unity Point from Perry that they're caring for. We have talked so much about the polls that has shown Bohannon maybe having a really strong lead, but Miller Meeks has always called that an outlier in a Fox News interview this morning. Turning to sports, Iowa quarterback Cade McNamara won't suit up again in black and gold after announcing today he's entering the transfer portal. McNamara shared the news this morning on social media. He said he was thankful for the people and experiences at Iowa, but is looking forward to continuing his growth as a player. McNamara has spent 2 seasons with the Iowa Hawkeyes, but injuries has kept him on the sidelines. He finishes his Iowa stint with more than 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions in 13 games. Back on January 4th, 23 shots were fired in less than 5 minutes and 8 people were hit, one of them being Perry High School principal Dan Marburger, who gave his life trying to protect his students. Now the investigation into the deadly school shooting is officially closed, and this morning law enforcement held a news conference to discuss the findings of the school shooting investigation. WHO 13's Roger Riley was there and he joins us now live with the details. Roger. More officers were at South Hamilton High School today after a social media threat caused schools in the district to go on lockdown yesterday. Snapchat's algorithm flagged a threatening post made by a student, which was then sent to the FBI. Several law enforcement officials responded to the high school in Jewel. The threat was determined to not be credible. District leaders say along with an increased law enforcement presence at the school, counselors are also available today to support students. Urbandale native Carissa Schweizer is moving on to the 5,000-meter finals at the Paris Olympics. The Dowling Catholic alum and 2-time Olympian is also competing in the 10,000-meter race next week. Good evening, I'm Lindsey Burrell. We watched the race with some of Carissa's family and friends. We'll hear from them in just a moment, but there was a lot of action today that you may have missed. Some good, some not so good. Joining us now from Paris is Alyssa Orange. Let's start with the not so good, Alyssa, and that was men's soccer. Slew of crime that we have seen across the metro in the last few days. Community organizations are creating a call to action to put a stop to gun violence. In 2021, the city of Des Moines granted Creative Visions with a program that aims to work within local neighborhoods to help combat acts of violence. Since then, the organization has worked to get ahead of gun violence through promoting positive ways of controlling emotions in certain situations and help to teach individuals skills towards conflict resolution that don't involve a gun. Can you talk about what this really means? So we talked a little bit during the break. Presidents have had immunity in the past. This isn't the first time that that's happening, but can you kind of break down this official, unofficial acts? Can you talk about what it means for you as an officer to have him as a partner with you every day?
Sense of comfort, knowing he's right there for me.
As we just heard, Central Iowans enjoyed some much needed rain, but even with the showers, Des Moines fire crews were very busy last night. Firefighters responded to this fire on city-owned land in the 1400 block of Dean Avenue around 8 o'clock. The fire appeared to be caused by a down power line. And check this out. At one point, a transformer exploded, sending a shower of sparks to the ground. Firefighters tell us, thankfully, there were no injuries. Metro police agencies raced to shut down interstate on-ramps this morning, trying to protect drivers from a semi-truck that refused to pull over. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Lindsey Burrell. Instead of responding to snow-related accidents this morning, state troopers were attempting to prevent them. And this is why: a semi-driver refusing to pull over on Interstate 80. Students went back to the classroom for the new school year. Iowa schools became a target of a national issue, an uptick of non-credible threats to school safety.
As the tip comes in, it goes to our dispatch center, and they are going to review it. And based upon that initial review, they're going to determine which avenues the tip goes. Notifying
schools, police, criminal investigators, or all of the above.
So depending on what that is, determines the urgency, which also then determines the response.
Non-credible threats have resulted in school lockdowns, police investigations, often sending schools into a panic.
And you don't want to cause additional alarm, but you also don't want to dismiss anything.
In Iowa, there have been over 100 threats made so far this school year, and currently over a dozen arrests have been made as a result.
Parents don't want the extra anxiety of sending their kids to school. Law enforcement doesn't want to be spending their resources responding to these types of things. And ultimately, with the criminal penalties that come along with it.
Criminal penalties like acts of terrorism, a Class D felony charged to students as young as 14 years old.
It's a high price to pay for making a really bad decision.
And it has experts wondering, are these threats a downward trend or rather a modern example of kids being kids?
Any kid at that age is impulsive, right? That is developmentally appropriate. Right? Thinking back to your own experience of being that age, to kids that age, right? We make choices without understanding everything that happens. That being said, you can't make a broad generalization that none of these kids have ever understood that or incapable of understanding that.
If the intent of the threat was to cause fear, panic, anxiety, to generate a law enforcement response, well, then that's absolutely going to land in the county attorney's lap for prosecution purposes. And that can be a felony.
A charge that can halt a young person's life before it's even truly started and hold long-term effects, even if dropped.
The stories that you tell yourself, right, hold very true to you. So kind of trying to break that stigma is going to be hard when everyone around you is telling you, that you can't do something.
And social media only heightens the issue as Iowa saw non-credible threats made from other states.
But these social media threats, as they start working their way through social media, it made it appear, because the name of the town was the same, as though it was an Iowa town.
Those threats, no matter the distance, are having an impact on students and their mental health.
And there is a concept known as vicarious trauma, or that secondary trauma that can come from seeing the things that are happening.
And the first line of defense starts at home, with parents having real and honest conversations with their kids.
Like, kids just want to be heard and listened to, right? And feel like they're part of that conversation.
On top of my school administrators, teachers, educational professionals, parents are absolutely in that chain of prevention.
Prevention that includes parents continuously monitoring what their children are consuming and communicating online.
So they're having conversations with each other that we're just not a part of and parents are not a part of. And those conversations happen rapidly, and they happen with folks all over the world.
Trust, but verify. and it's because it's not like as a parent you want to not trust your child.
An issue highlighted during the Perry school shooting investigation, as those conversations were the first warning signs of shooter Dylan Butler's interest in violence and violent acts.
He had stated interest in prior school shootings. We can say that some of those conversations happened online, in the sense of chat rooms and those sorts of things.
A digital footprint that, if caught early, could have stopped tragedy.
Parents need to be involved. Willful blindness is not a parenting strategy.
In general, I think kids are much more capable than we give them credit for and are very capable of having mature conversations about difficult topics.
The best way to stop school violence is to prevent it, and the best way to prevent it is to talk to them and be educated.
Reporting for WHO 13 News, I'm Lindsey Burrell. For some people, Barbie is just a plastic doll. But for Sue Wyatt, Barbie is a collector's item. And after buying her first doll back in the 80s, she was hooked.
So I went back the next day and they were all gone. And when I saw that, I said, this is something that's going to be big.
But little did she know just how big her own collection would one day be.
I was shocked. We had 475 that were mint in condition, never opened. It was taking over our house. Our closets were full. We had a total of 47 tubs already.
They just kept coming, and I was like, there's another tub, and we open a door to a closet, there's another tub, and this closet we hadn't opened in 10 years. That's because it's full of tubs. And so we're like, there's more Barbies.
Now, Sue and her family are donating their combined collection to the Ronald McDonald House in Des Moines.
These are the Polaroids that we actually named the girls from.
A house that became a temporary home to Sue after her twin daughters were born prematurely and placed in the NICU.
So then I had emergency surgery, obviously, and it was a vertical C-section because they had to get them out quick. And the first baby was labeled A. And she was breech, actually. The umbilical sac then collapsed around the second baby, baby B, and that collapsed her lungs.
Staying at the house saved Sue the daily commute from Grinnell to Des Moines and gave her more time with her daughters.
But then it was nice because just in the morning we get up and we walked over to Blank Hospital to see the girls every day.
Now she's giving back, hoping her donation of Barbies can be auctioned off to raise funds for the house.
And then when the rumors about the movie came out, I was watching trailers and stuff on TV, and God just said, it's now. It's time. This is what you need to do.
I had no idea what 475 Barbies looked like, to tell you the truth. And so we were a little overwhelmed at first, but it's been a fun process.
And that's just the dolls.
There are ornaments, there's games, there's bathrobes for people, there's blankets.
All that are now part of an online auction.
The only thing we love more than Barbies is babies. And so I'm so glad that this is going to go, and not only is it going to benefit the Ronald McDonald House, but it's going to bring so much joy for people everywhere.
And some people extra happy, as many of the Barbies up for auction are highly sought after collector's items and key Barbies from the movie.
So this is a dress that Margot Robbie found to wear at the opening of the Barbie movie. This Barbie, this Happy Holidays, just absolutely beautiful. Okay, so this has a high value of around $1,200 because if you notice that the robe or whatever it drapes down along her body, and then on the back it's just kind of fanned up around the back of her head. So because of the misprint, that is what has made this Barbie a collector's item.
Aside from misprints, there are also full collections like The Wizard of Oz, My Fair Lady, and of course the iconic holiday Barbies.
Who knew there was a Barbie for president, right?
Bringing a whole new meaning to a Barbie world.
She can do anything, and that's a real draw for a Barbie, is she can do anything.
Lindsey Burrell, WHO 13 News.
Is a very busy scene around us of crews that are cleaning up. Very similar to other areas, this area here and Roosevelt High School mostly saw tree damage. Now, the schools had crews out both last night and this morning assessing any damage and working to clear the area of debris. Even the football team, who was here for summer practice, chipped in this morning to help pick up limbs and branches, both at the school and for neighbors here along Polk. Now, you might think that the schools are empty given that it's summer break, but many Des Moines schools actually play host to summer practices and camps, and officials do tell us that they had to pivot and relocate a summer program happening due to the loss of power. Tonight, we're going to be looking for two things here at Vivek Ramaswamy's campaign party. One, the amount of people that show up. If you check the latest poll, which we've been showing here to our viewers, he's polling at 8%, which is 8% behind Ron DeSantis. But if you ask Vivek about it himself, he says that the people that he is campaigning to aren't being recognized in those polls. Also, a lot of people might have seen him in person. He's actually done the most in-person events here in the state of Iowa other than any other candidate, but they're not seeing political ads for him. Actually, all of his political ads just cut and pulled out of the state in late December. The second thing we're going to be looking for here is the age of the people who are coming out to support Ramaswamy. As we know, a big majority of his campaign has been to younger voters, younger caucus goers, and people who are going to be experiencing their first time caucus. Now, as people trickle in, we're going to try to talk to them, bring you the very latest on what's happening here in downtown Des Moines. We're right outside the town of Millerton in Wayne County on 150th Street. We saw some reports on Twitter on some damage here. I talked to a resident in Millerton. He pointed us straight to this. This is the damage that we found. We're hearing this is from tornado damage. There are some crews on the scene for downed power lines that are working diligently to try to get some of these poles back up. You can see all of this damage here as wood is thrown everywhere outside of this large field. You can see massive farm equipment. What you can't see actually on the other side of that is a pontoon boat. Investigators released that video today showing officers had very little time to react when faced with an armed suspect. The incident began just before 4 in the morning on July 30th when police say the suspect refused to pull over, leading officers on a chase down East Army Post Road in the pouring rain. Video shows the suspect went off the road into a wooded area and attempted to run. Police quickly caught up to the suspect, with Officer Schneider leading the way and Officer Lampman behind him. This next video shows when the suspect, 45-year-old Weston Derby, pointed the gun at officers.